probably getting about done, I'd say.
Well, they sure have done good for us so far.
Yeah, they have, for no bigger than they are.
Still a lot of little ones on here, but they all splitting, just like a tomato does. I'm assuming that's because of
all the rain.
All the rain.
Boy, it's muddy out here. If you don't watch, your feet will fly out from under you.
That's the truth. Just in certain spots. This one's about done. It's one of the prettiest ones we got though.
Is that one of the old ones?
I
can't remember now.
I believe it is. It's one of the ones we transplanted over here.
That never would grow till we moved it.
Good.
We may just eat these. Let the kids have them.
Well, Jacob will clean them up in a hurry.
Oh yeah. Maggie takes notions. Some days she likes them, some days she don't.
Maggie's like that with anything, ain't she?
Mm-hmm. Half of them ain't no good though.
Yeah, well, still the ones that ain't no good, I'm gonna pull them off there. This one's got some pretty ones on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, this got swallowed.
Well, don't seem to mind it.
No.
This one, I've got some pretty ones off of this one.
Yeah. I wish I remembered what variety this one was. I'm pretty sure the tag's already gone.
Oh yeah.
Been gone.
Yeah.
If I can remember right, it's either Premier or Tiff Blue. Welcome back, y'all.
Glad y'all are here today. Come spend some time with us today on another hot, steamy, humid day.
That it is. It's already got hot this morning.
Well, we just picked what few blueberries we had ready. Wasn't very many this time. And look at there. I got elderberries everywhere that are starting to get ready. And I've already made some elderberry syrup for, you know, colds and things. Unfortunately, that didn't make it to a video. But I'm very intrigued because they've never been this full.
No, they haven't.
And
which they're getting
they're older. Yeah. But I'm very intrigued to make elderberry jelly because that elderberry syrup I made, I know it's supposed to be like medicine. It was so good.
Really?
It had a really good flavor.
I
yeah.
haven't tried it yet.
Yeah. So we'll cut the ones that are ready because if you don't know, if you've got an elderberry, if you don't go ahead and get them when they turn, the birds will eat them up. And they fall off so easily, like when a bird lands on it too, half of them are going to fall off. So
we found it doing it this way, which, I mean, this is the first time we've ever really done anything with elderberries. What's the first time they've had enough berries to do something with. But we'll hold the bucket under it as we cut the head out. And that way you don't lose any berries.
Yeah, because they fall off like when they're ready, when you go to touching it, they kind of fall off really easy.
And like around here, we've got, I'm chasing that one. We've got one elderberry plant we planted. The rest are
wild.
Yeah, wild elderberries. And it seems that everywhere we have elderberries, like, was originally some like woods or overgrown areas. Once we cleared it off is when the elderberries started coming up on their own. Because I don't remember ever having an elderberry right here before we cleared this area off.
Wait, here's one. I think you cut, it didn't fall all the way in there.
But elderberries, you can really identify them in the early spring, or I guess late spring when they're blooming.
And they're not to be confused with pokeberries. You know, I'm scared people that are not from around here may confuse a pokeberry with an elderberry, but they're two totally different.
Well, the berry somewhat looks like a pokeberry, but the plant itself, you can see a pretty obvious difference. But if you didn't know what you was looking for, you may confuse one with the other.
Well, and I'm going to tell you, if you accidentally eat a pokeberry, you're going to know it too.
Oh, they're awful.
Yeah.
Yes, they are poisonous. At least my understanding is the seed of a pokeberry is poisonous.
But it's so hard, you'd probably never be able to chew it anyway.
Nope.
But ask us how we know. I did like to paint with pokeberries when I was a kid.
Oh man, when I was a kid, we used pokeberries for everything.
Yeah, I'd squish them and...
I'd make dye out of them.
Oh, I remember coming back to the house and your hands be dyed purple because you've been playing with pokeberries.
I know, all these, I listened to a podcast about poisonous plants the other day. And a guy was talking about how a person who had just moved to the country, they were from the city and had just moved to the country, and they were scared that...
You want the bucket over there?
Yeah. Yeah, can you come on this side?
Let me see.
I think you got room up in here.
Look, right here's one. Go ahead and cut that one while I'm standing here.
But they were scared that their kids were going to be running around and potentially eat something that was poisonous. And obviously it's something to be scared of. But when we was kids, we played with all these poisonous plants all the time. And didn't even know they was poisonous. Nobody ever told me a pokeberry was poisonous.
Oh shoot, my granny did.
Did she?
Oh yeah.
I never once heard that a pokeberry was poisonous. But, it's just as kids, we knew better than to eat it.
Well, like I said, the taste of them, they taste like rubbing alcohol, so...
Yeah, if you ever put one in your mouth, you'll know real quick you ain't supposed to eat that thing. All right, how am I going to reach them up there?
Well, just leave them for the birds. We got enough. I think it'd be all right.
Yeah, but there's some pretty ones up here. I don't want to lose them.
Well, hang... Okay.
What?
You got it? But yeah, me and my brother we loved to play with them. Because they got the prettiest purple color.
All right, I'll leave what else is up there.
And also, if you don't know, you're not supposed to eat elderberries till they're cooked.
Yeah, I didn't know that till you told me that the other day.
But yeah, if that jelly tastes anything like that syrup I made.
Say it'll be good.
It'll be good. Yeah, let me grab my blueberries.
Okay. But what I was saying about the poisonous plants is if you do your research, you'll find out that we are surrounded by poisonous. But look, speaking of pokeberry, right there's one coming up beside the old camper shoe.
Oh yeah, they're everywhere.
But we are surrounded by poisonous plants, things that if you digest it, it can potentially make you sick.
Pretty sure apple seeds is one of those things.
I think you're right.
I think they contain cyanide.
Yep. I believe you're right about that. I've heard that before. So, in my opinion, it's nice to be aware of what's poisonous, but don't be freaked out by what's poisonous, because you'll find out that probably 90% of the plants that are landscaped around your house are poisonous to you. But you just simply don't eat them. As long as you don't eat them, they don't bother you.
And my thing is, I've always told the kids, you don't eat something out in the wild unless mom or daddy says you can. Like, you don't just go out here chewing on leaves and stuff. Like, that's a big thing ever since they were little, because like they've learned to identify some wild plants through the years and things. And right there's a pokeberry, got berries on it, but they ain't purple yet. So there's the difference between an elderberry and a pokeberry.
Pokeberry. See how it has the cluster berries?
And the leaves are totally different. The plants. Yeah. Yeah, let me finish picking our elderberries and I'll come fix you some, okay? Here comes the wild woman. But there are some very obvious differences when you go to identify. I'm glad there's a pokeberry right there, because I do think it's something for people that maybe don't know how to identify wild plants in this area or whatever. The leaves are totally different. The pokeberries have big leaves and a green stem, whereas elderberries are more like a tree. They have bark and they have little small limbs, and the berries are in clumps like this, almost like a spider web, whereas pokeberries are on
pokeberries die to the ground every year too.
Well, and also their berries are like on a long
tendril. I
yeah,
guess what you would call it, like that.
And they're not like webbed like these elderberries.
They're ripe at 2 different times a year too.
Yep, that's right.
These are ripe more later in the summer on into fall, where these are ripe right now in the middle of the summer.
Like I said, if you get confused and you go try one though, you know it.
Oh yeah, you will. So when picking these things, It's really easy. Just cut the whole cluster.
Yeah, and we'll show you in a little bit how we get them off of that cluster. But it's good to know the wild plants that are in your area because, you know, places vary.
That's exactly right.
Wild plants is my thing, though. Like, I don't know. I think it's amazing that, I don't know.
Well, I'll tell you, here in our area, I know not all parts of the country are like this, but in our area, between all the wild plants and the wildlife that's here, if you had a mind to, you could just about survive without ever growing a garden.
But you got to know things.
But you got to know what's there and what
Yeah.
ain't there. There's medicine here. There's food here. It's pretty amazing the difference, the different types and species and everything that grow in this area. And elevation changes it so much. You can go up another 1,000 feet or so from where we are, and you've got a totally different group of plants that and everything that grow. Look at that clump. Now that's got some big berries on it.
Does. That's one thing I've noticed about, this is the one I'm pretty sure that I planted like years ago and we actually thought it died.
You bought it offline, didn't you?
Yeah. And now it does have bigger berries than the actual wild ones. They're more plump or something.
But the rest of ours are just the native elderberry. And elderberries like to grow in the edges. So like the edges of fields, the edges of clearings.
You'll see them on the side of the road, all up and down the side of the road.
Yeah. Anywhere where it's semi-wooded, but you still got to open where they can get sunlight, that's where you'll find your elderberries. And they're extreme. I'll leave that bucket sitting there. We'll pick it up on the way back up.
All right.
They're extremely, extremely prolific here. And extremely easy to propagate if you don't have some. So if you want some at your own place, and you see some growing somewhere else, during the dead season, the winter, you can come and take hardwood cuttings. Maybe we'll try to do some of that this winter.
I mean, try to grow some more elderberry plants?
We really don't need any more because they literally come up everywhere.
What did you say the other day? You
What?
just like to grow things?
I just like to grow things. So yeah, maybe we can try that. I've never personally done it, but I know I've heard tell of lots of people who have.
I don't know if any of these are right.
There is
this one's a
that
little
one
behind.
cluster on the back there.
I was gonna say this one's a little behind.
So it's funny. We have them all up and down this fence line here too. I don't know if that's from birds maybe dropping the berry when they sit on the fence, or if it's just where they're growing. Me and Daddy were coming down through here a while back, and Daddy was like, "You're letting your fence line grow up, ain't you?" And I was like, "That's my elderberry bushes." And he just kind of looked at me like I was just
Crazy.
like I was crazy because I'd let them grow up on the fence like this. But they're not touching the fence, so they're not hurting anything. I'm gonna have to get in the pasture to cut that one right there.
Well,
That's
you
a
can
big
leave it
clump.
for the birds. We got plenty. We got another one down there we got to stop at too.
Oh, I'm sure the birds will get plenty. This is a pretty clump right here.
I had a lot of people comment and say elderberry jelly was one of their favorite jellies.
But once you get to know these plants, you can just about ride down the road and be like, "Hey, there's a whatever."
Yeah, even if it ain't got berries on it.
Yep. Man, this one's loaded.
See, this one's got the big berries on it too. These are like different than up there.
Maybe they're just happy.
Or maybe that, yeah. I'm gonna look in some of my old cookbooks before I check the on the line and see if I find me a jelly recipe.
This one's got a lot on the ground here. It's a wonder something ain't done eat these. I'm gonna leave them though, because they got a lot of dirt where they're down on the ground. I think we might be close to being done. You want to go down there and check that one, or
Right there's some.
not worry about it?
That got a lot of dirt on it too, though.
All them down close to the ground. I guess where we've had so much hard rain, beat dirt up on them. You want to go down there and check that one, or?
That's up to you.
The last time I was down there, it had some that was close to being ready.
Did it?
Yeah, but.
Well, where I'm gonna make jelly, it might not hurt to have as many as I
Let's
can
go down
get.
there and see what we can find.
That ain't got none on it, but some bagworms.
Well, that one's a lot more shaded there too.
Yeah.
Y'all, right there's another wild edible. Wild muscadines. They ain't ripe yet. They'll turn purple.
They're starting to turn some of them way up there. Only
Is
thing
it?
with wild muscadines is the deer. If they can reach them, you ain't gonna have none.
Yeah, see this bush right here, or vine right here, is up so high that a deer can't reach that. But yep, another wild edible.
But it's like wild blackberries though. Some years they are wonderful, and some years they ain't fit to eat.
Right here's something else that's been very interesting to us. That's what's left of a ghost pipe, which
I've never seen them come up here.
I know nothing about these things. This is more along the lines of Megan's wheelhouse, but we've never seen ghost pipes come up around here. This whole patch of woods right here, I'm assuming from all the moisture we've had, was full of them.
And this place hardly, like the sun it's getting right now, that's the sun it gets.
Right there's another patch of them.
It's too hot to be trying not to get wet.
You taking advantage of that creek water, ain't you? I don't want to get my shoes wet.
The good thing about a creek is it never gets hot.
It never does. It's always freezing cold. Well, unfortunately, camera had to cool down real quick, but we've already checked the elderberry down there, which is this big bush. We'll walk down there and look at it. It doesn't have any on it that's ripe yet. However, it's loaded with green ones. But I want to show y'all something.
We have our own ecosystem.
This is so cool. Me and Megan were just looking at it. These little doohickeys right here. Where's he at? Right there. That's like a little miniature clam type thing. In his own little shell. You see him moving around there. Then there's tadpoles. Look, there's another one right there.
Big old bullfrog tadpoles in here. Let's see if I can get them to swim. Yeah, see them?
See them in there, them little black dots? Move.
No, look at the big ones. The big ones are the bullfrogs.
Where's the big ones at? Oh, right there's one.
Yeah.
Going across yonder. But it is simply amazing, y'all. There ought to be an abundance of frogs this year.
Yeah,
as
I mean,
much rain as we've had.
Yeah, it's got the swamp grass around it and everything. Which this has been like that before, right in this area, because this don't ever dry up. If this mud hole here dries up, it's dry.
That's exactly
the same
right.
with that big one over there.
Over there.
And both of them dried up last year.
Yep. Creek garden looks much better than in the garden tour. We had an extremely short window and was able to get in there and work it. Cleaned it up real good. Pay no mind to the empty spots here. For whatever reason, that corn decided it didn't want to come up. However, it's looking really good out there. But this is the other elderberry. This one came up on its own. Full of berries, but none of them are even close to being ripe. And that makes sense because down here, as y'all have heard us say many times, is almost like a microclimate. And in the early spring, now this time of year, not so much, but in the spring, all the way into early summer, you come down here like after dark, and I wouldn't be afraid to say it's 10 degrees colder down here than it is up at the top of the hill at our house. But it's just because we're down here in this low area.
On this creek. The creek goes all the way around it just about.
There's another one of them little micro, what did you call it? Ecosystem.
Little ecosystem, yeah.
And you would think that these mud holes would be plumb eat up with mosquitoes. And they ain't. I don't see the first mosquito in there.
I don't know.
Right there's one. I take that back. I do see one. But you would think there'd be thousands of them in there.
The mosquitoes are worse at our house than they are down here.
They are. There's you another shot of the creek garden.
It looks better from this end.
Yes, it does.
Can't see all that water.
Ooh, look here. See all the tadpoles in that hole?
Is there a bunch in that one?
Yeah, big ones too.
Them must be the bullfrogs. Oh yeah.
Them is some good sightings. Already got legs on it. Them do.
Do they?
Yep.
Yeah, the kids, man, they keep an eye on their tadpoles. Now, if we come down through here, they're like, don't hit that mud hole. It's full of tadpoles. Don't run in that one. They keep a check on their tadpoles.
Yeah, right here's the goldenrod. It's pretty interesting. It's already blooming. This summer has been one of the wettest ones I can remember, and I don't never remember these mud holes staying this full for this long. I have seen them not dry up completely, but I've never seen them stay this full, like this one. I mean, that was like a little miniature pond. Now, I can say that this fall, I'm going to turn this garden, and I'm going to turn it in such a way that it's going to make this right here somewhat fill in and drain. So you can change the lay of the land real quick with a plow. And if you plow right, you can take care of drainage issues with a plow. And that's my plan. We'll show that when the time comes. But that is my plan this fall for this garden. Once everything in it's done, and we turn it all under. But I guess, anything else we need to pick this morning? Or is that it?
I think so. I think that'll be all for now.
Okay. So, well, let's head on back to the house.
After a while, do you want to go dig a tater or two and just see where we're at?
Up there at the other patch?
Yeah.
You know, that probably wouldn't be a bad idea. Let's just check on them for our mind's sake and see where we stand with it.
All right. If you heard me holler, Tiger decided she's going to run by and splash me.
You know, Megan, I don't know about you, but I feel like we've already talked about a little bit of everything this morning. But, you know, edible plants and native plants and stuff like that have always been an interest of me. I think they're a big interest to you. And people don't even, this day and age, don't even...
I'll tell you, people used to live up in these hills without a dime, without nothing, and
be just fine.
Made it.
Take care of every sickness, every whatever they had.
Wasn't no doctors.
By using what was here. Yeah, there was nobody there to do it. But nowadays, people could walk out right here and look at this patch of woods, and they couldn't tell you what the first tree is. If you're going to live in the country and you're going to be surrounded by this stuff, it can be somewhat helpful.
Well, just educate yourself. Don't be scared.
Exactly.
Just educate yourself, yeah.
It can be very helpful just to know what all this stuff is. Sassafras right there. That's one of my favorites. I love a sassafras tree. That oak leaf you see there, that's a chestnut oak. White oak. Well, I'm not going to lie. Me being in the Boy Scouts when I was younger taught me a whole lot of these plants. Like, we had merit badges and stuff we had to, you know, we could get, and that was one of my favorite, was the trees and bushes and plants. I don't know them all. By no means do I know them all. But all of them look familiar, and I know whether they're good or bad or what they can be used for. Plus, when I was in college, we had a plant identification class as well.
Andy's a crazy plant man.
I kinda am. I guess I'm a plant nerd. All right. Well, we'll go back up to the house, eat, then we might ride up there and dig some potatoes here after a while.
All right. I'll make my jelly after that sometime.
All right, sounds good. Well, in case y'all missed the garden tour video, here's our potato patch, the big potato patch. Mostly what you see out here now is buckwheat. I had buckwheat sowed in between the rows trying to stop erosion, because this field sort of goes downhill. Potato vines have died back, and it's been just way too wet.
And if you hear these weird noises in the background, it's our deer alarms.
Yeah, one of them is Jacob screaming, and the other one is the normal dog barking setting. But it's been so wet, we just ain't been able to get up here and dig these, because normally we dig them by tractor.
And we're getting a little worried about them. And
we're getting worried about them because it's been so wet. We're afraid that we're going to end up finding some rotten potatoes. So I want to see what they look like. Boy, that ground's soft. Look at there. That is pure mud.
That ain't nothing but mud.
Pretty potato.
That's a good looking potato.
I mean, that's so muddy you can't even hardly dig it by hand. I'm not a big fan of using a fork to dig a potato. Holy cow. Because of that right there. I stab one every time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so even if
Look at yonder.
Look at that, man.
Boy, if they all look like that, we'll be all right.
These are pretty. Well, luckily I don't see nothing yet that's rotting.
Reckon we ought to go dig a couple of hills on the bottom side too.
Yeah, look at that. I thought it was a rock. Ain't that pretty? My gosh.
Oh my goodness. Them are 2 or 3 times the size we got last year.
Yeah, we didn't get nothing like that last year.
Is that all under one plant? All them giant potatoes?
So far, for what I found. Yeah, let's go down to the bottom side, because this is wetter down here. Look what a potato.
Golly.
My goodness, y'all.
You know the good thing about big potatoes?
What?
You ain't got to peel many of them, get you a good pot of potatoes.
That's true.
That's what I like about them.
Well, kind of what I was thinking is every time we've ever sold any, you know, and that was one of my main
Well,
things.
there's a tater there. You about stabbed it. I seen the ground move.
That was one of my main things is big potatoes are a whole lot easier to get rid of, too.
Yeah, they are.
People love them big ones. They want bacon potatoes. Hopefully and then they ain't even trying to re-sprout like those up at the house.
I'm telling you, I think them at the house is because they're so close to the ground. See, these ain't even seeing near a bit alike.
Yeah, these are healed up.
Yeah. One plus they're in this thick.
And you got this big mass of growth over here too, and that's keeping the soil cooler.
Yeah.
So that soil's cold.
Oh, yeah, it ain't hot.
It's cold. Down here ain't nothing but a weed. Here's a vine.
Yeah, I was a little worried the vines were so big. I was scared it was going to be all vine, but...
Don't look that way, does it? Look at there.
There's that chunk of clay there.
There's one. Yeah, they in it, ain't they? Ooh, now there's a rotten one. I believe that was a seed potato.
Yeah, I hope it was, because this
it's
one,
really rotten.
that one looks good.
The one right under there. I see it
Now,
shining.
these are little.
Well, this down here is the poorest part of the field too.
Look how deep that's in there.
I see that. Way down in there, ain't he?
Yeah. Golly.
Them and them raised beds was right on top of the ground. That's a good looking tater too.
Yeah, it is.
But that's a good sign. So far, we got no signs of bug damage, no wormholes.
You smell that mud though, where it's been so wet.
Yes, it stinks.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's good then.
Yeah, that's what we wanted to see. That's what we was...
I mean, from looking at the weather forecast, we've still got a good week's worth of wet weather ahead of us.
Well, we just wanted to check and make sure, see how worried we needed to be.
Yeah, I think we're good for now.
I think so too. It makes me feel a whole lot better.
Look at that. Now, ain't them some pretty potatoes, y'all? Especially that one. I can't get over that. Look at that. So yeah, we can't complain with that. That makes me feel a lot better because I've seriously been pretty worried.
Been stressing about it.
Yeah, I have been like secretly stressing about the fact that these things may be rotting in the ground because it is wet. I'll tell you something that's really been loving all this rain.
The corn?
The corn.
Yeah.
Right now we have some of the prettiest corn we've ever grown.
Yeah.
But
that it is.
All right. Well, let's go up here and cut these barkers
I'm
off.
gonna holler for the youngins.
They went down in the woods playing.
Yeah.
Sure y'all can hear that out there. That's the one we got recorded. I didn't even realize you could record a voice on them. Jacob was playing with one on the porch the other evening. Well, it's been longer than the other evening. It's been a while. He figured out you can record voices on these things. So 2 of the barkers we have up here have Jacob screaming on them. And 2 of them have dog barking and gunshots. There's an idea of how wet we are. This is up here on a ridge. Listen. But, golly. You can mash that power button one more time. And I believe that's the nighttime setting. But yeah, to show you how wet we've been, up here on a ridge where we never have standing water, we've got standing water. But like I said, everything seems to still be doing just fine. These sweet potato vines have really grown. Good morning, Glory. But these sweet potato vines have really grown since the garden tour video. But it's been hot too. Yeah, I can barely even walk through this. I'm sinking up. I'm gonna have to get out of the field. There's a pea. I'm gonna leave that. Look at the weeds. The weeds are really coming. There. Hopefully that'll at least keep the neighbors up here from going crazy. Japanese hullus is really coming on. We've got 3 ears. Now I've noticed that a lot of times this bottom ear here don't make much, but these 2 top ones will. I have seen this Japanese horse have as many as 4 and 5 ears on it, but right now it looks like, oh, this is going to have 3. And it's got such a beautiful silk on it. I mean, it's just beautiful. Look at that. Make a good, like, doll's hair or something. Popcorn's looking good, though. I hope the deer stay out. Once it starts making ears, that's when the deer and your coons become the problem. And other than these alarms, we have no protection against wildlife up here. So, yeah, that might be an interesting battle between now and time that we harvest that stuff.
Take you a fork, and then just gently
Pull them off with a fork.
Yep, it works good. You might get a few little tiny stems in there. You don't want any more big stems. You just, because if they're ripe, they'll come off pretty easy.
I can roll them in between my fingers and they come off easier than with the fork. That's working good.
Oh, well, there you go. Maybe the fork ain't gonna work for you. Fork works good for me. Me and Maggie did this the other day and it didn't take us no time. Get through all them elderberries.
So you gonna work on this jelly this season?
Yeah, I'm kind of excited about it. You know where I first seen about it at?
Where?
What was that series, man, you watched?
Oh, the
With, what's his name, Landry?
yeah,
Bill,
Tom with Bill Landry.
Was that what
Was that what his name was?
Tom Landry?
Tom, or was it Tom?
I don't know.
He done the series on. We seen it. Where did we find that series?
We first seen it on Facebook and we looked it up on YouTube.
That's right. It's from several years ago.
Like the 80s, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, like the late 80s, I believe, when that series was from.
Yep, and there was a lady on there making elderberry jelly. I was like, hey, wonder how that would be. And I thought about it ever since. How long ago has it been since we watched that?
A couple years.
Yeah,
Because that's how we found out who, what's his name was.
Yeah.
The Hicks man.
Yeah. Ray Hicks.
Ray Hicks, yeah. That was a really cool series.
I can't remember what it was called.
I can't either. It had a name, and it was only like 3-minute videos
Yeah.
on every one of them.
And we sit here for an hour and watch little 3-minute videos.
Every night.
Yeah.
But it was people, he was interviewing people from,
East
like I
Tennessee.
said, back in the 80s, but from
Yeah.
East Tennessee and Western North Carolina.
And, no, he didn't ever go into Georgia, did he?
I never seen him in Georgia. I never seen him anywhere else but Tennessee and North Carolina. I don't even think he was ever in Virginia.
So I've got my elderberries all washed and put into my pot, covered in water, and I also added in one whole little small apple for the natural pectin, because after reading and trying to find a recipe for this elderberry jelly, I've never made this before, so I don't know how so this is, but it said that the wild elderberries a lot of times don't have enough pectin to actually set up good as jelly, that it's best to boil an apple with them. So that's what I'm doing. So we're going to let this simmer for about 15 or 20 minutes, then we'll strain it and make our jelly. Now what we're going to do, this is simmered around 20-ish minutes or so. So we're going to strain our berries, and depending on how much juice we have is going to be how much sugar we're going to need. Just like any other jelly or jam recipe you're using without sure gel. So it looks like we got right at 3 cups of juice. So I've cleaned my pot and I'm gonna pour it back in here. And to every cup of juice, per the recipe I'm following anyway, we're gonna do 3/4 a cup of sugar to every cup of juice. Then we're gonna add a couple tablespoons of, should be lemon juice. I don't have lemon juice. I've got lime juice. So that's what we're gonna use. Hopefully it will turn out just fine. And we're gonna bring this up to a boil that doesn't stop while stirring, and we're just gonna let it go probably at least a good 15-20 minutes until it can pass like our cold plate test to know that we have reached the jelly stage. And plus, usually the bubbles change too. I don't think this is going to make a ton of jelly. We'll just see. I'm excited. Everything is purple. Oh yeah. That ain't moving nearly as fast as it was a little bit ago. And we're getting some wrinkles when I run my finger through it. So we should be ready. I'm going to show you what I mean by different bubbles. See how those bubbles look? It's really changed. It don't just look like normal boiling now. So I've just got a couple of jelly jars out here. And that's all I'm going to fill up. I don't know that I'll have that much more than that. So go ahead and pour this in. If nothing else, it is a beautiful purple color. Alright, there's that one. Yeah, look at that. Beautiful color. Alright, and the rest of that we'll save to eat on. And as that gets cold, that should really set up. So I am very excited about this. And I've already tasted it, and it tastes wonderful. Alright, I'm going to go see if I can get Andy to try a little taste. So I ended up making 2 jelly jars full, and then I've got some in a container in the refrigerator for us to eat.
So that, the berries we had made that much?
Mm-hmm.
Dang.
Plus, I don't think it's quite a jelly jar full, but this was my testing to make sure it's set up enough.
Well, this is the first time I've ever tried anything made out of elderberry. It doesn't smell like anything.
Pretty good, ain't it?
Wow. I did not expect that.
I can't put my finger on what it tastes like, but it reminds you of
It reminds me of something I've eaten, but my goodness.
It's pretty good, ain't it?
I didn't expect that at all.
That's the way I felt when I made that syrup. I was like, wow, okay.
I kind of thought it was going to be something that, I don't know.
Tasted like a wild something.
Yeah, it don't taste like nothing wild. That's good.
I know. I'm pretty proud of that. You want to know a little taste?
Sure.
That's about all I got. We might can eat some on some toast tonight with supper.
It almost tastes like blackberry that's not sweet. Sort of.
Maybe, yeah. It's something that puts you in mind. Look how pretty and purple it is.
Well, I know. I can't believe that. I can't believe that's what elderberry tastes like.
Something, ain't it?
It is.
It is very good. I'm very proud of that.
That might be a hit. We might have to plant more elderberries. Or at least root some more.
Well, we'll see if we can go through and pick a couple more times what we picked.
Maybe this will take the place for the blackberries we didn't get this year.
There you go. There you go. That's
Since we're getting such a good crop of elderberries.
Yeah, we'll just use them.
We'll use them to take the place of what blackberry jelly you didn't get to make.
That is really good though. Never had it. No wonder people used to make that.
So you wasn't able to make no blackberry jelly at all, was you?
Well,
we didn't have enough.
There was enough blackberries to get out there and get you a handful to eat. But
that's it. Well, yeah, I guess this right here will take its place.
Yep. But, well, anyways, guys, I guess that's going to about wrap up today's video. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you might have learned a little something. I know I did about the elderberry jelly. So
I did. I never expected it to taste like that.
I'm very excited about that, and I hope that it sets up like it should. But I think it will because it passed my cold plate test. Yeah, but look on the spoon too, though, where it has sit for a little bit. See that? See?
Oh, yeah.
So that's really hot.
Okay.
But and my strawberry was like that too. And it's set up.
Yeah, it's set up a lot better.
Yeah.
Man.
It's where I don't use Sure Gel.
So you do it. I was gonna say you done it the same way, didn't use Sure Gel and all that.
I have refused to buy Sure Gel this season.
And it's worked.
So far, so good. But anyways, guys, till we see y'all on the next one.
Y'all have a good one.
Have a good one.